Oh my gosh, we're sitting here laughing of how different we look on the screen. And I'm like, I can't stand on my tiptoes the whole time. And it's just funny, like cameras. Hey, welcome to Live and Unscripted for July 12th, 2023. You're with your host, Jen Saunders and LIgia, spelt LIgia. Oh my gosh, we're so excited to be here today. Honestly, we are excited to be here. I'm a little nervous, like if I'm being 100% transparent, just because I can be nervous because all of this is unscripted and I never know what's going to come out of our faces. And today feels like a big topic, and I'm noticing like imposter syndrome want to come in, and I think we should breathe.
But that's so interesting because I find I get more nervous that I'm going to mess up something that I've scripted because there's an order to it, and I want to make sure I maintain that order and don't mess it up, because in my head I already know how it's supposed to be.
You know, I'm okay with the unscripted portion of that there's not order, that it's the going with the flow and letting inspiration be the guide, which is what our program is about, is having conversations with amazing people that we usually just meet on the street. We're bringing a couple to you that we're not bringing a couple, we're bringing a couple people to you in the next little bit that we met over in the Grand Teton National Park area. And we just were like, oh my gosh, we think you're awesome after having a short conversation. And that's how typically how Live and Unscripted works. Occasionally, like last week, we'll have someone on who I've known for a long time or that LIgia has known. And I love the unscripted nature of it. But today, like, it really just, it presses my, I was telling LIgia before we went on, it presses my like imposter syndrome, like bullcrap that sometimes wants to pop in of like, do I know enough to be talking about this? Then I go, wait a minute. I absolutely do, because we're just sharing our own experiences, and we've come across a topic the last, probably just in the last week, that it's really been popping up frequently.
Like 3 different books, twice in one.
Yeah. And so we're like, we should talk about this. This would be kind of fun to talk about, but it's just interesting to observe like what goes on in the messiness of the mind, and to be able to just show up and move through it and to say, yep, sometimes it makes me nervous. Which is part of why we do breathing at the beginning of every episode. It's a way for me to just like come back into coherence, because I get excited to start, but also a way to bring us together in the space where inspiration can be the guide, where we're lending energy back and forth to each other, both LIgia and I, but then also you as the listener. And before we do that, LIgia, is there any housekeeping items that you want to take care of? River trip.
If thanks.
How's that for inspiration?
Yes. If you are in the Facebook group, the Righteous Rebels, on Facebook, I was going to say, every time now that every time, you'll notice that, or if you're in Facebook land, period, there's an event for the river trip where you can find out more. You can always go to therighteousrebels.com, and that'll give you even further information as far as like where it is, how long it is, what to bring, that sort of thing. So that is coming up August 14th through. It's a 6-day river trip. So we'll be taking the classroom on the river and camping out under the stars. And we have world-renowned Kate Burke with us as our guide. And it's an opportunity to level up your life and leadership. And leadership is not just in the working world. It's how you lead your family and your friend group, or, you know, how you lead an exercise, you know, whether that's how we're going to clean this room today, whatever that is, how you lead yourself, most of all, though, how you lead yourself. So if you want to find out more, there is that event in the Righteous Rebel group, or you can always reach out to myself or Jen in Messenger and find out more, or in the comments.
Yeah, just know it's not, I keep saying it's never too late to make a great decision. And this is a really great decision, especially for our female friends and rebels out there. This is an invite for you, men. Your opportunity is coming. Right now, we're just catering to the ladies. And recovering from a thought that just ran through my head. I'll get back on track. Back on track. We are offering a discount right now. The lodge has given us permission to do that, and so we would love for you to take advantage of that. I was going to say probably want to get on that sooner than later, just because there are some travel details that will need to be taken care of. Not hard, but details that you'll want to take care of probably sooner than later. Again, if you're wanting to be easier on your wallet, then sooner than later is going to be a better idea. So LIgia, thank you for that. And we also are going to have an event coming up on August 24th. We don't have a name for it yet. We have the concept. We're making all the details with the other people involved. So watch for that invite hitting. We'll make an event for that as well. It will come through the Righteous Rebels page over on Facebook, the group. So if you're not a part of that, you're like, wait, what is this Righteous Rebel Facebook group thing? Go over there. There's a button. It says join. You go, boink, hit it, and we get a notification. We're like, oh, yay, we get to celebrate someone else joining our community, because every time one of you comes in, the magic grows, and we love that. Breathing. Time for breathing. Okay, we're going to breathe. Today, let's just do simple box breathing. So it's a breathing in for a 4 or 5 count. I always say breathe in on whatever count works for you. That's just a suggestion. You're going to breathe in through your nose. Then you're going to hold that inhale for the same amount of time. You're going to release. So exhale through your mouth for the same amount of time. And my mind is saying, or do it however you want. And then you're going to release, or hold that exhale for the same amount of time, or whatever you want. As you're doing it today, right? As you're doing it today, I'm just going to invite you to just notice how you feel. Do you feel heavy? Do you feel light? Do you feel excited? Do you feel any of that? And breathe in more of what you want, and releasing out any of the heavier, denser energies that may be hanging around, thoughts that are like poking at your mind or at your heart. Let that stuff go on the exhale. And so with that, I'm going to invite you to do it with either a downward gaze or eyes closed, whichever feels most comfortable for you. And we'll do the first one together, and then we'll do probably today, let's just do 3 sets on your own. So the first one together, so downward gaze or closed eyes, breathing in through your nose. Good big deep breath, holding that inhale, letting it go on an exhale through your mouth. Holding that exhale. And now let's repeat 3 or 4 rounds on your own. Let's go one more round. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And just notice how you feel. I love it. Today I notice I'm wearing a blanket like a skirt because it's chilly in my house. And I was telling Lee, the sunshine is literally like 8 inches from my feet, but far enough from here that I can't be in it. So I have a fuzzy blanket on. I could feel the little fuzz touching my legs. I started to notice the sounds of the birds in the trees. And this just like the energy that's really just like moving and coursing through my body. LIgia, how about you?
Well, right away I noticed the speed and just the tone of your voice has like, whew, like it's amazing to notice that. For myself, I can be really visual, and I was imagining on the inhale, just breathing in, and I imagine like blue waves, and just like and breathing out like the fieriness, because it's been a busy morning, and a lot of like back and forth with someone I'm working on a project with, and it can be really frustrating, and just like gets me like, and just breathing that
Get you
tension.
like how?
Nice try. It's and then I'm like, where does that expectation come from? Like, why am I feeling so triggered by some of what that back and forth is? Like, it's not mean, it's not aggressive, but I find it really triggering at times, and frustrating. And I don't know if I have an unknown expectation that it should look different, and that's bringing up all sorts of other feelings, and feeling like I'm not doing it right, or why can't we communicate this better? Like, just having this idea that it should be different, and just noticing what that does in my body, and why. It's just interesting to notice it. So that was what I was breathing out, and just to be here and be centered and be in rebel mode. So
I love it. I feel like you were like leading us right into our conversation today.
Maybe a little.
Yeah. Flower. Why are we not showing up on my feed? So if for you, the listener, LIgia, thank you for sharing. And thank you for, I was going to say, well, I was asking you about what yours was, not about me, but you brought it right back around. There we are. So for you, the listener, I would love to hear what your experience is, because everyone experiences this differently, and it's just fun. And it's curious for me, like, how does someone else experience breathing? How do they visualize air moving through their nostrils and into their body, and then coming back up through, and how, I see my lungs moving. I see, like LIgia, sometimes I see like cartoony things moving through my nose. So what is it for you, and how did it assist you? And then the bigger takeaway is, it's really simple. And we don't have to teach a lot about it in order for you to recognize the value that it can play in your life in just like 60 seconds. What did it do for you? And then to take and practice that often, or several times in your day. I often talk about tail light meditation, and when I'm sitting in traffic, and I don't even always have to be like wound up or in a hurry, but sometimes I'll just see the taillights, and it just is this beautiful reminder to just slow down my thinking for a minute, and to just be really present with being stopped in traffic and to come back to myself instead of all of the other stuff that my mind wants to go to as I'm sitting there. So that's just a reminder to breathe and keep it simple. Keep it simple. And we would love to hear about how that plays out for you in your daily lived experience. Woo! LIgia.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of alluded to what we're going to talk about today. I mean, you also made it in the title of of the advertisement, I guess, for this. But what are we talking about today?
So we've been reading a lot about potential, and just having conversation. Potential, yes, but potential in our relationships, whether it's our romantic relationships, or friendships, or work relationships,
relationships with ourselves.
Yes. And this whole idea around potential and expectations, and how I think why I wanted to talk this out more is where is that fine line between being supportive and encouraging of someone's potential, and is that something that they've shared with you that they see for themselves as well, and where does that become a them thing, or are you imposing what you see in them because you see their greatness, right? And I think that's kind of where.
Okay, I just want to make it really clear that LIgia and I have not talked about this. Is that you, Mom? My mom just walked. It's like someone just walked in my house. Hi, Mom. I didn't hear you knock. Do you want to come say hi? Rude. I see the potential in you being on screen. She's like, you should see her face right now. Oh boy. Hi, Mom.
Hi, LIgia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You should know better than to dare me. I'm the worst.
No, wait, she's the best.
I'm the best.
Best. That's right.
Mom, tell us. We're talking about potential and potential in relationships, but we're just barely getting started on potential. Like, what is potential for you? Like, what? Not for you, but when you think about potential, what do you think about?
Potential is there might be a really charming, over 6 foot tall, younger than me, adorable gentleman that will take me to dinner and kiss me occasionally. That's potential.
Love it.
Is that irreverent being my husband's only been gone 4 months?
No,
I miss him.
No. But,
It's been 4 months. Wow.
What?
I'm dumbfounded that you just
Why?
that you just shared. No, really, like a heart of hearts, what a potential for you is, and that's really awesome. And P.S., if you're watching, she's really awesome.
And P.S., die healthy. Do everything you can do to not be old and sick, but old and healthy. And when your time's up, you just go to sleep and don't wake up on this side.
That sounds like really amazing potential.
Yeah.
And with that, there's my mom. Thanks, Mom.
So I'm going to lunch without you.
Oh, you are?
Oh.
You're only starting on potential.
Till like noon.
But look.
Oh, wow. So I have a birthday tomorrow, and she's like, wow, she's pulling out gifts. Talk about potential right there.
More cute babies.
I love it. I love it. You guys, this is part of the cool thing about Live and Unscripted is we get to do whatever we want. Oh, wait, I can say hell. We get to do whatever the hell we want.
You could say heck and not sound so crass.
Spoken from a true mother.
Spoken from a mother who used to say hell, shit, damn, and the F word and knows no need to do it anymore.
I think all of that is
Goodbye.
No, come back.
you're like gonna go without me? I'm potentially hungry too.
I can't promise I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, LIgia says you don't have to. She's like, come back. Like, this is the best thing ever.
This is awesome.
Our ratings just went up by 1. Okay, so as I was saying, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I love it. I love it when this stuff happens.
See, we can be upset because we had an expectation of how this should look like, but no, we just rolled right with it and invited.
Did we have an expectation of what this was going to look like?
No, we could have. Not that we did, but if it was supposed to look a certain way, and if we wanted, it to look polished and perfect and whatever standard that everyone else is saying that should be, that could have been upsetting, but it was so refreshing and fun and funny.
Real.
And I'm
It's real.
Y'all are killing it with stand-up comedy today, is a comment in our Facebook.
Oh my gosh. But I'm fun. We'll be here for the next 30 minutes. Oh man, but what I was actually about to say is this is a topic that actually LIgia and I haven't talked about in depth, even though it has come into our presence for, like we say, at least 3 times in a couple different sources. And we just thought it would be fun to chat this out together. And, we're only experts of it in our own lives. And we know stories from other people's lives who are around us. And that's what we can speak to. And so, and we just started to like this discussion about how potential in relationships can actually really sour a relationship, especially when it is partnered with expectations. And so, what I know that LIgia, you have a ton of thoughts of that. You've already started some. I've kind of interrupted, and I don't really apologize. But go. I'm going to give it back to you. Hey, which way is you? Are you this way or this way?
This way.
That way?
The way you're pointing right now. That's
okay.
That's
so you're opposite. If I point away from you, I'm pointing to you.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to really try not to point, but just in case I get,
Okay. Yeah, right up your nose. That's
right
that's
up
a
my
great
nose.
spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
when I think about potential, I lied. I'm not going to give it back to you.
Okay.
The first thing that came to my mind was going back to junior high or high school science class, and where like potential energy, and I love science. Like I loved learning about all the different things in science and how things work, and just I get excited about it. And the lessons on kinetic energy and potential energy, and kinetic energy is the when things are in motion, and how potential energy is the possible or the stored energy in an object in regards to its position.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it's like, what is the potential of an object? Like, what is the potential of that Dutch Bros coffee mug? P.S. I don't get paid by them. Dutch Bros, it's okay if you want to sponsor us. Like, it has a lot of potential to make a mess. Hey, plugging.
Yeah.
Plugging.
It does have potential to make a mess.
Yeah, but because it's just sitting there and there's no force acted upon it, it's not going to go anywhere. However, if I were to bump it, its potential is like creativity of all sorts with the papers and the stickers and the things that are on my desk. So, same with us. It's what is a potential? I started looking at potential inside of humanity. Yes.
Just when you're saying that, when something acts upon it, the thought that came up is like, who is the act upon the potential within someone? And I think that's where we can get into messiness.
Who is the act upon? Say that again. That kind of blew my mind. Who is the act upon?
The potential of that spilling is like there's energy in that, and then whatever acts upon that can create a mess or fulfill the potential of that scenario. Gotcha. So then it makes me think, in relationship, when we see potential within someone, who is the acting on that releases that potential, and is it the person that we see the potential, who has the potential, or are we trying to enact ourselves on them to release their potential? Right. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so like when I looked it up, I'm like, I wonder what the internet has to say about potential in humans. And this is what I found. Well, when you look at potential, a lot of the sciencey stuff comes up, and I actually wrote potential in humans just to see what would come up. And it was fascinating because it said, in humans, is that they have the necessary ability. I'm just going to read what I saw. The necessary abilities or qualities to become, and this is actually mind blowing to me that this is how it's, at least in this resource, was portrayed. The abilities or qualities to become successful or useful in the future. How someone learns and applies something into their repertoire.
So who's defining successful and useful?
Right. My mom is like saying, so who is defining successful and useful? And this is something that you and I, LIgia, talk about all the time. Like, who says?
Yeah.
Who says? And what is potential? You've been talking about, my mom's like, innate. It's innate. She should just be over here standing next to me.
Right.
You've been talking about, a force acting upon something else, creating that, but will you go further? I know what you're talking about because we've talked about this just a little bit, but will you go a little further into detail about that, about when we see potential in okay, so first of all, we talked about potential harming relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're talking about, just as a kind of an umbrella, is when we look at people and we only see their potential and we don't their potential, I'm air quoting what potential is, and we build relationship on that versus actually getting to know who they are right now and how they show up and how they act in present moments. That's more what we're talking about, is when we're falling in love or we're building relationship with potential.
That we're putting an idea of what we see that person can be. So we might, overlook certain things that really don't jive with us. And we continue on because we have this idea that things will, quote unquote, get better and improve in a way that feels more aligned with how we want to live and how we want to show up and communicate and participate in relationship. But the issue with that is, does that person even know what you're seeing? Right. That person understand that this is what you'd like to see happen, or you just see enough little breadcrumbs to say, oh, that's the way they're going, but you don't invite them into that conversation so that they have a choice. So you're essentially imposing your ideas of who they should be on them without them even knowing that's something that's even important to you.
I wish, I love all of that. Thank you. I wish you could see my mother's face right now. She is like,
what?
Or
you gotta get,
or who you're looking at is like looking into the mirror at you, and you may be seeing your current potential, and they may disappoint or get better at their potential so that you can see who you really are. And if they don't, then you're disappointed in you, but you blame it on them.
Ooh, Valerie.
dang. Damn or ding right here.
I said dang.
Yeah, lady.
You're getting scolded on live.
On live. Damn.
Live. Dang.
Damn just means stop it now.
Oh, stop it now. Okay. Yeah, like that's a really great way another way to look at what potential is. And
so Luba says that your mom is her new favorite human.
Mom, you would like Luba. Seriously, you would like my mom. Mom, you would fall in love with Luba. Luba is an amazing soul who we met in India. Yeah. Luba, thank you. I honestly, like, if we're gonna, oh my gosh, because my mom's in the room, and
I can leave and go to lunch with that.
No, let's talk about this, like potential. If we're gonna, like, an easy thing to talk about potential is like when you're a parent, or maybe you're not a parent, but you're helping parent other people's kids and whatnot. But I think that that comes about most when we have our own kids, and the potential we see in them. and what we want for them, and recognizing it's challenging sometimes to recognize that, oh my gosh, they're their own humans. And the P.S. I'm not talking about my mother. I'm just talking about parenting, because I was going to talk about this, but because she's brought it up, we're gonna go there. And LIgia, I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. Like, I know growing up that, there were expectations. It felt like, let me say it that way. It felt like there were expectations that my parents had for me, and
From your lack of wisdom
and
your
ideas. You did just
definitely live and unscripted.
LIgia, can you hear what she's saying?
I didn't hear it, no, but your face says so much.
It's awesome. But I was thinking about that, like, in my own parenting, like, you see these cute little bodies, and we have ways that we're brought up, and we want to instill all of the goodness on these new little souls, and we want to help them grow, and we want to help them be all the things, and we expose them to some things, and then sometimes we don't expose them to other things because of what our belief systems are, and we see the potential in them, but it's not even that we're really seeing the potential in it. It's like what you said before. We're seeing what our version of potential is for that little soul. And then I know that from my own parenting, and at 15, I said to my mom, I am not going to parent the way that you parented.
I would rather have anyone's parents than you.
If you didn't hear that, she said, I would rather have anyone's parents than you. I actually don't recall saying that. It may or may not be the truth.
It is the truth.
It was probably like the boldest thing I had done thus far in my life, like to say, I'm frustrated, and I have a voice, and I want to just say some things, but that's the only way I knew how to say it. And so I thought, how do I do this differently? And I'm a parent, and I'm human, and I probably still viewed my kids as the potential based off of some of the things that I had for them. But I really tried my hardest to instill the concept of trusting themselves and following their own hearts, even trusting themselves more than they trust me. And it's been an interesting experiment, and an interesting, I raised kids who left my home early because they felt something different would be better for their upbringing. And the reality is, it probably was. This is I feel like this is a huge topic, but that's just like my little 10-minute rant. LIgia?
On potential. I think when we're relating to kids, sometimes I know I did, looking at, especially with the first one, is you're looking at how you're wanting to raise your kids differently than how you were raised, and then seeing all the opportunities they have that you didn't have, and wanting to guide them towards making the most of all that potential and all that support, or all that opportunity that you didn't have. And I know in my head, I wanted to play out what my life would have looked like had it been different, and had I had the support that I wanted. So it was trying to put that into my kids. The thing with that is that they have, when you teach them to have a voice, they use it.
Yes, they do.
And sometimes that they have their own way that they want to see the world, because they've been informed, and they have their own thoughts and feelings and experiences that, as much as you try to create this, alternate reality of, it's almost like a different version of what your life would have been. And it's never going to be the same, and you're never going to see what it would have been like. But that being said, you can still be, I think it's not I think we were talking about, Jen, is the not expecting them to follow what their potential is and what you think their potential is, according to what you want to see for them. It's that check-in of, talking to the kids. Like, my daughter, she was really wanting to go to medical school at one time, and we were just supporting her and helping her find mentors, and talking about school, and then it got to a point where she shifted, and that wasn't the route she wanted to go. And had we continued on with the potential that she'll be a doctor, she was wanting to get into surgery, and if we had gone with that route and said, but this is what you said, and just kept pushing that, because we're like, wow, it's potential of that. And, versus honoring that shifted for her, and that she could say that to us, and have that change, and that we could support her in a different way, not because of what we thought her potential was, but honoring where she was at in that journey, and just, continuing to give her energy and resources and that towards where she sees her potential being. And it's that check-in, and not getting stuck on one vision of how someone should or shouldn't be.
Thank you for sharing that. I just think that's a great example. And it really causes us to have to step into feeling, but also listening, like hearing, listening with the intent to actually hear. Can you see comment? I can't see any comments.
So Luba said, I just realized that your mom is the youngest, best looking, funniest great grandma I've ever met.
That's awesome. Luba.
And she's like, no, don't leave.
I should put up some pictures of my cute grandbaby, that great grandbaby. But as you're talking, I'm thinking about, potential that we see in other people, again, based off of what our perception of what that is. But then we add this other highly charged word of expectation. Then we expect someone to do that, even though they may not even know what that is, because like you said before, we haven't invited them to the table to even know what that is. And a few years back, well, quite a few years back, I learned a different definition of the word expectations. And for me, I love it because it kind of keeps me in check, because it happens. And for me, it's true. And it's the definition of expectations are premeditated resentments.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, and then I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, for me, that rings true in my life, because if I'm holding an expectation for someone, especially if they don't know that I'm holding it, and then it doesn't play out, or doesn't play out the way that I want, what do I feel? I feel resentful, or I feel angry, or I feel bitter. And when in wrong with something. Right. And really, I've robbed myself. And so how does, in your opinion, like, let's talk a little bit about potential inside of relationships, like couple relationships, and how that plays a role. Because I think it's really common, it's really popular to look at a potential relationship and be like, oh, all of these great points, but I see this, and I see this, and I see the potential of that. And yeah, it might be, but it might not be anything the other person really wants to do. It might not be a talent they want to explore. It might not be a career they want to explore. And they may never want to explore having good communication or being playful or whatever that potential is. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you see that?
Well, I think the biggest part you just said there is communication, and really having open conversation about what is it you see for yourself, and how can I support you? It's the sharing of a vision. And sometimes we get stuck in, I know I see this with people I work with when they're putting their books together, is like they share all this all these ideas and this passion, this love, but they get stuck because they're not sure how to move forward with it. And then what I love about what I do is I take everything that they've said and I play it back to them in a different way, and it's coming from someone else, so they can hear what their thoughts are, and then it's like, yes, that's it, and they get so excited about that. And I can't remember what. Oh, it's communication, and just communicating back to what you're hearing. I think that's such an important part of communication. So you and the person that you're talking with have a clear sense of what's being shared, what the vision is, and how you can support. Like, ask, like, how can I support you in this? If it's a weight loss journey, if it's, I want to write a book journey, if it's I want to have a schedule, like what can be my part in that to help support you along, running a race, what would that look like? If I have I love this thing about expectation, about how it's setting a trap, and how often when we have, someone says, I want to do this weight loss journey, and then in your head, that looks one way. So that's like, it could be reducing calories, working out 5 days a week. Maybe that's what your thing is for yourself. But that person might be like, I'm going to fast at this time, or I'm only going to work out 3 times a week, and what those workouts are, like really having some clarity as to what the path looks like, because what they have envisioned is very different from what you have envisioned. Because when we put our expectations on someone else, and they fall short, it doesn't feel good for you or for them, and they're not even sure what's wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, because I'm human, and I've done this, I've practiced this, and had it practiced, in reverse, and it feels really crappy when things aren't quite right, but you're not really sure why, and there's not really those lanes of communication or being able to express what you're feeling, or that, oh my gosh, I think I had an expectation that either I knew about or I didn't know about, and I've put it on you, and now because my needs aren't being met, or my whatever, that way, my feelings are hurt because you didn't do it. Like, I get it. I've practiced
Feelings
it.
are hurt. Yeah.
And so I was going to say, in the work that we do, we hear in all of our relationships, we hear people talk about what it is they want to do, and they talk about their own potential. And I love this concept of asking the question, what does it look like for me to support you? But what happens when that person, because they're wearing skin too, isn't living up to their potential? How do we handle that? Or my mom asked the question, what if one person doesn't want to play? This really could be a huge conversation. We could have an entire series on this, and of course, and oh my gosh, maybe we will, because why not? But so when you're with someone who's like, I want to do this thing, and then they're not like taking the steps or showing you, because again, you have to be able to feel your own stuff, projecting and putting your own stuff inside of it. Like, how do you move forward in that? And again, I think the communication piece is key. It's the like, hey, you've said you want to
it's a check-in.
It is a check-in, and this happens often here because it's so easy to say you want to do things. And when I'm coaching clients and I actually say, do you really want to do that thing? Like, and I'm not questioning that they do. I'm asking them to check in with themselves of like, do I really want to do this? Is this the thing that's really potentially the best thing for me right now, or potentially the thing that I feel is my passion or my purpose? And I ask them to check in, and then I say something like, if it's not, is it going to be okay to set it aside for a minute? And giving people permission to recognize, like, okay, it's something that I can do. It's something that I want to do. It may not be the right timing, or I may not have the drive right now for whatever reason to actually step into the energy of that thing and start taking the steps to get it done. Doesn't mean that it will never happen. It just means that maybe right now there's a piece of information missing, or there's a person that hasn't come into place yet that then allows that, again, the person to come in and knock that coffee cup over, that actually gets things moving and going. And for me, I find it challenging as a observer of someone else in the past to, again, not put my own, like, but yeah, you said you were going to do this, but more about asking the question of like, what was more important than you in that moment? Or are you really ready for this? And whatever I think the questions depend on the relationship and the person that you're talking to. And those questions come just based off of what your interactions have been, how well you know the person, how deep you can delve into the subjects. So I'm not gonna stand here and give a list of questions that you can ask, because there could be a plethora of them. It's just about asking the questions without expectation.
Without expectation. And I think there's also a component of like, so you imagine you're talking with someone and they're sharing like, I want to do this. And then like you get really excited because it's something you would like to see for that person.
Right.
And then
sometimes yourself too.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you get caught up in that excitement. And then it's like, it's almost like they want to see you light up. And so they agree to do stuff that maybe that they're not really wanting to do, but because it excites you, they say they want to do it. And then it's this, I remember Mike Mintz, happy birthday.
Yeah, I
was talking with him, and he said something that just sticks in my head. Like, he asked me, what is it you want? Because he asked me that question, and then I was listing off all this stuff, but it all had to do with my family, with just with everyone else. He's like, LIgia, you can't want something bad enough for someone else. Like it just, you can't want something bad enough for someone else. And that just sticks with me, because I've seen how in wanting to support what someone says, I haven't checked in with that person to say, hey, is this what you actually still want? But I'm moving and creating space for them as if that's what they wanted, and still in support of that. Yet, taking all the steps that they should be taking, thinking I'm supporting them, but I'm really just doing it all for them. And then they're not taking ownership of that. And you just can't want it for someone else. Like, do you really want it, or do you just want it to be done for you? And then that's not really their change anymore, their potential anymore.
So let's, as you're talking about that, thank you for sharing that interaction with our good friend Mike, and because I know that's come into our conversations a lot as well. But that brings back kind of the question that my mom asked, is like, when you're in that space of you're wanting to be helpful, and again, you got to really know how to check in with yourself of like, is this me wanting this and putting it on them, or is it something they want and I'm really truly wanting to be supportive, but they don't want to play the game?
Well, I know how to communicate and they don't, so you can't say it in enough words for them to get it.
You should just come over here and say this yourself.
Come over. Like, you have fans, Valerie. Just
yeah, come talk to your fans, lady.
A lot of experience in this. So I don't remember what I said.
Something about, you know how to communicate, and
okay, so say that you've studied and you know how to communicate, or you have an innate ability to communicate.
What does innate mean?
God-given.
Okay.
It's what you're born with.
Okay.
So, or higher self given, whatever, however you say it. So as hard as you try to do your communication, their ears can't hear it. And even to say, how can I say it so you can hear it? And
keep talking.
And it doesn't happen. So then what?
It's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating. to feel like you're not heard. So that's what you mean by if someone else is not willing to play, or maybe not.
They
doesn't
don't
have
know
the
how to play.
Yeah.
Or all of their stuff is in the way
Mhm.
and they don't know how to move aside from the stuff. Or instead of you being the partner, you become their parent, mom or dad, and they see you as that. So then you're a threat instead of that person that can help move them along or help each other, because you're never on the same step of the ladder at the same time.
Yeah.
One's always above the other because it's a pull up. Everybody's pulling up at some point or another. And
we call that hand up here.
Yeah. So, every once in a while it feels like you're on the same, and it's kind of cool. But then it happens in friendships and in all kinds of relationships where you kind of know the same things, but all of a sudden you drop down because you have something to learn. And that other person has the part of the puzzle. And it triggered something that now you remember. And so then you step up again and you're on your way. So it's that it is zero humanly impossible, no expectations.
Right. That's true.
It's not possible.
It's
about
lessening the amount of expectations that you have.
And from my perspective now, and I'm just going to say because he's gone, I guess this is part of the grief steps that I'm in. Wish I would have been more aware of his talents and gifts as talents and gifts instead of irritations. So then I could have found a better way to support him than what I did. And I can tell you, he is probably doing flips not to hear me go rah, 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 rah.
Well, you're going to leave with that? Yeah.
So, but wait, you say about like being heard or not being heard, like how did you handle that? Because I'm sure in the term of that relationship, there was moments where you didn't feel heard. So how?
You don't have time. It's 40 years.
Okay. We'll have to have
and someone would say, well, why don't you try this? I did.
Okay.
Well, why don't you try this? I tried that.
Hey, I have an idea.
But when you change your ideas of what you want them, your projections or whatever it is, that also changes. It gets softer and you care more about their needs than your own. Which is all about communication.
So on Live and Unscripted, we tend to interview people that we just meet that we think are cool.
That's me.
I know. Would you want to just come do your own show?
Do you have 5 hours?
We can start 1 hour at a time.
Right? That was a yes, by the way. She'll come back. Now that lady has a lot of wisdom and a lot of lived experience. And thanks, lady. She's like, you're welcome, lady. No, I think that part is tricky. The communication piece of, you recognize that you're having expectation or that you're putting your thoughts of potential on someone else, and or that they just don't, for whatever reason, have capacity to communicate in a ways that feel really good for you. There's not a one answer.
Or they could hear you and not know what the next steps are, or feel like paralyzed at like what it could mean. So it's easier to stay in a state of like, this is working for me, so I'm going to stay in this space and just hope that things get better. We could go on and on and on. Like, this is a fun conversation. It's been awesome to have your mom be a part of it.
Did you hear? She's like, and I'm really hungry.
Yeah. So I think it's time to wrap her up for today.
Oh my gosh.
That was fun.
It was fun. And again, for you who are listening, this is just a topic that came up for us that we find fascinating, that it's fun to just like delve into and find all the different avenues and rabbit holes you can go down and the potentials and the possibilities. And we like I say, we didn't really talk about this a lot before. We just are kind of really delving deeper into this ourselves, and just thought it would be fun to bring to you.
You need to segment your potential because there's so many.
Oh, she says we have to segment our potential because there's so many.
Yes.
We could have segments of this topic for eons. But we really just wanted to bring it to you just as a fun way to have a live and unscripted that one caused me to be a little bit uncomfortable just because it pushed some of my buttons, and I got to remember, like, this is about just having live conversations and getting you involved as the listener, and your thoughts on the topic and what your lived experience is and what your inspirations are on this. And we would love to hear about it. Whether you're putting that in the comments, which we really encourage you to do. It's a little bit rebellious or a lot rebellious to actually put your thoughts in the comments, especially when they feel like you could be judged for them. But my thought on that is, you never know what you're going to teach someone else, and someone else may be thinking a very same or similar thing and not quite be there yet to actually put their fingers and dance them on the keyboard to let everyone know. So this is me just encouraging you to be rebellious and to share your heart and your thought that way. It teaches us too, and we love to see your magic. So LIgia, thoughts on that?
Yes. Share your thoughts. If you found this conversation helpful, share it out to a friend in a group or wherever you're watching from. And if there's something you want to cover or a question you have, put that in the comments or reach out to Jen and I in the various places that you can find us.
Right, which I believe today we're coming live on LinkedIn, also on YouTube, and in our Facebook group, The Righteous Rebels. We want to thank our community. It's growing, and it's really fun. It's also can be really frustrating because we see the vision, we see our own potential, and we see the things that we want to do, and we just really want you to be a part of it. So again, we're extending an invite to be a part of the group and just saying, accept it. Come see what we're all about. Come share your own magic. And you just never know when what you have to share will change someone else's life. It'll be the spark that fans their flame. They're like, oh my gosh, like LIgia and I could say something and they're going to come in and say the exact same thing, but in a different way. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's like the most amazing thing ever. And that's what we want from you. Remember to go check out the River Trip ladies coming up in August. Watch for the event coming for the August 24th event, which is a live event, smaller. There will be food involved. There will be outdoor cooking. There will be great company and conversation. And then also, if you know cool people that we may not know, or even if we know them, who you think would be great on a live and unscripted conversation, let us know. And we'll reach out and see what we can get set up that way as well. I know LIgia does too. We value who you are. We value your lived experience and the stories that you have to share. And we feel like sharing gives meaning and purpose to that. And so we just really want to get you out there and put all the yummy nuggets that you've lived and experienced in other people's hands, and maybe even, in their mouths for nourishment. That maybe didn't come out the way.
It's your poor mother is starving. You need to go have
yeah. Speaking of nourishment, we're going to go get some right now for our physical bodies. So thank you for being here for the spiritual, emotional part of it. And LIgia, thanks for your comments and just for what you do for the Righteous Rebel community. She does a lot, folks. Anything that makes us look good visually, she's done it. And I just stand back and celebrate. It actually kind of looks like that, maybe a little bit more.
Potential in that area.
Oh,
what?
My mom says, and you have potential in that area. Almost with that same expression and tone of voice.
What's that telling you, Jen?
That it's time to step up to the plate in the other areas of my life, and that I have a platform to do it and people who support me. You're welcome. Amen. And remember to Be bold.
Be brave.
Be brave.
Be a rebel.
Be a rebel.
You were like breathing.
Oh, so rude. Or was I just holding still?
I don't know. You're all blurred for me, so I have no idea.
Oh. All right. Hey, thanks for being here. We'll see you guys on another live and unscripted next week, which we don't really know who it is yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. We love you. We'll see you soon.